Well, by popular demand, I am back with a funny little story. It's Friday the 13th. I've had a barbecue today. Why not? An unlucky day, but a not unlucky day for some. Hello to everybody who's viewing today. Not long until we go and change the screen over to a digital version of the book. I had the physical copy in my hand, but just now I went online and I went, you know what, let me see if I can find a digital version so you guys can actually read this at the same time. And there is. And so we're going to be reading together as a group. It is going to be absolutely brilliant. I'm going to love this. I am actually looking forward to this. Having the book so you guys can read it. And, well, so I can read it. I have got something different than yesterday, where we had loads of energy drinks. We had 4 in one day. We shouldn't have done that. So instead, I've got some flavoured strawberry water. So if there is a hydrate, I'm a bit more healthier today. But saying that, I've already drank nearly half of it. I mean, no, nearly 3/4 of it. I really have, just setting up. But saying that, we're going to get straight right into the book. Sound alerts are on. Please do not use them today. It would be very grateful. But if you do want to, go ahead and have fun. So, over to gameplay. Look at this. Look how cute this is. Look how adorable this is. So yeah, I found the digital version. And I'm so genuinely outstanding. Just happy about it. So, with that said, chapter 6. The Dwarf's Forest. If you guys have any messages on stream today, I will be looking at them after stream. Don't worry too much. I'm just going to get straight into it. I packed you some food, a couple of blankets, and a few gold coins I've been saving, Froggy told the twins, and handed Connor and sheepskin. Just hang on. You know, I didn't notice. I haven't got my light over here. One moment. That was the only thing I was missing. I was setting up and I've forgot to bring my light. Only thing. Like, the most important thing to be able to read this book is a light, right? What an idiot. There we go, I can see better in it now. I packed you some food, a couple of blankets, and a few gold coins I've been saving, Froggy told the twins, and handed Connor and sheepskin scatchels. Thank you so much, Alex said. It's so kind of you. Now when you say food, what exactly are you referring to? Connor asked, holding the satchel a safe distance away from him. Some rolls and apples, Froggy told him. Oh God, Connor said, relieved. Froggy handed Alex the map and journal they had been looking at the previous night. Are you sure you're ready for this? Froggy asked them. You're both awfully young to be going on a quest like this. Alex and Connor looked to each other, each thinking the same thing. It was hard enough to navigate around their own world at their age. Could they really travel around a different world and altogether without the help of an adult? But the twins found reassurance in each other's eyes. They knew that though it is all that'll at least have each other. We really don't have any choice, Alex said. Thank you so much for all your help, Froggy. We should still be lost in the wood. We would still be lost in the woods without you. I shouldn't. I'm just making sure we are. Where are we? Froggy smiles. No, of course. No. Okay. Froggy smiled widely and nodded. Of course, he said. I should be thanking you. I rarely have an opportunity to feel so useful. Are you sure you don't want to come with us? Alex asked. A map is great and all, but a tour guide would be better. At first, Froggy's smile grew with excitement as he was tempted by the idea. The thought of travelling out into the world and leaving his hole in the ground home was so alluring. It was clear he could feel the temptation, though his entire body. Throughout his entire body. However, his fears and insecurities are the outside world, seeing him and what he had become, erased the opportunity from his mind. I can't, children, Froggy said, with a heavy heart, but I wish you the best. Oh, hello, okay. I didn't want to do that, I just wanted to... There you go. The twins were disappointed, but they understood it. It was difficult for them even to go to school with just a small blemish on their faces. They couldn't have imagined the stress facing the world as an enormous and from what in the world are we looking at? They couldn't imagine the stress of facing the world enormous Oh, I can't do the what I was gonna do. This is so zoomed in. One moment. Oh, it's a kind of frog. Great, well done. What a great one. It was very important that you get out of the dwarven forest by sundown. Sundown. Froggy instructed, "Go to the path and travel south into the Corner Kingdom. It's a few hour walk, but you'll be safer there. Travel as quick and quietly as you can. Promise me." The twins promised Alex. The twins promised. Alex gave Froggy a big hug and a kiss on his cheek. Connor shook his hand and then wiped it on his pants. God, I can't read today, guys. "I hope we see each other again," Alex told him. "That would be lovely. But for your sakes, I hope we don't," Froggy said. And winked. Connor clapped his hands. "All right. Those items for the wish and spell aren't gonna find themselves," he said. "Let's go!" You know what? I feel like it's gonna be easier to read it off the digital version because I need to do. It's really hard to actually read it in a book and do this. Okay. The twins pushed open the door and climbed up from the inside the ground. Inside the. Let's just read from the book. That's not working. My eyes. The twins pushed open the door and climbed up from inside the underground home. As they headed out of the forest, Froggy waved goodbye until he was out of their sight. Soon, they were back on the dirt path they had landed on the previous day, and they headed south as they had been assured. It was very unnerving for the twins to be alone on the path now that they understood the dangers of the forest. They regretted not trying harder to persuade Froggy into coming with them. They jumped at every tiny sound the trees made. Alex and Connor remained silent for the first hour or so as they walked, afraid that their voices would detract and wanted attention from some of the creatures Froggy had warned them about. "We're very brave," Alex finally said to her brother, breaking the silence. "All very stupid," Connor said. The path curved through the forest, revealing new trees and bushes, even few feet after some time had passed. The twins could feel their nervousness and tension calm. Their pace became slower and slower, and the more they walked as they become more comfortable with being in the forest. Hang on. Let me read that again. Their pace became slower and slower the more they walked, as they became more comfortable with being in the forest. That's what it says. Sorry. Connor let out a long sigh. Oh no, that's a yawn. Look, it's Friday the 13th. It's really unlucky today. I really messed 4 things up today. "What's that for?" Alex asked him. "I was thinking," Connor said. "Alice went to Wonderland after she fell into a rabbit hole. Dorothy's horse was scooped up by a tornado that dropped her off in Oz. Excuse me again. The Narnia kids travelled through an old wardrobe, and we ended up in a fairy tale world by falling through a book." "Where are you going with this, Connor?" Alex said. "I'm just saying It's kind of lame compared to the others, Connor said, with another sigh. I wondered if there's a support group for people like us. You know, people who accidentally travel into other dimensions with whatnot. Alex was applauded. One like this. Do you not get how lucky we are? She said. Think about all those things we're going to see. Think about all the people we're going to meet. We're going to be experiencing things no one else in the world has ever else in our world ever has. Connor rolled his eyes. I'll feel lucky as soon as we get back home. Alex reached into her bag and pulled out their map. Her eyes became fixated on it, and she only looked up every minute or so to make sure she wasn't about to walk into a discovered something new. Walk into a tree, sorry. Every few seconds, she'd snicker or smile when she discovered something new. She looked like a tourist. Shouldn't we be reading the journal? Connor asked. We need to make a list. We need to make a list of the wish and spell items and find out where we can find them. We will, Alex said passively. There'll be plenty of time for that. Connor was getting frustrated with her. Did you not realise how serious the situation was? We need to go home, Connor said. What are we waiting for? There are a couple of things I would like to see before we go home, Alex told him. What are you talking about? Connor said, his volume and temper rising. We're in a fairy tale world, Connor. We should make the most of it while we're here, Alex said. Who else gets the chance to see Cinderella's palace, or Jack the Beansword, or Repulsal Tower in person? Connor's mouth and eyes were wide open. He couldn't believe what his sister was saying. We're stuck in another world, and you want to go sightseeing? He said. Are you hearing yourself right now? Do you know how crazy you sound? She stopped walking and turned to face her brother. There was a seriousness and desperation in her eyes. Connor, the last year of our lives has been horrible. We've lost everything but Mum and each other. Alex said, every night I've wished for a fairy godmother to magically appear and make everything better, and now we're in a place where that is possible? I don't have friends to go home to like you do. The only friends I've ever known live here, and I'm not going home until I meet them. Alex continued walking down the path. Connor was absolutely drumstuck. Oh no, dumbstruck. Dumbstruck? There we go. Little water break, everyone. I like how my mask's gonna get really dry really quick because I haven't done this in ages. I'm back to it. Why am I being the logical one kind of questioned? You're always overthinking everything. How are you not out of your mind with worry? What's there to worry about? What is there to be worried about? Alex asked with a laugh. For starters, what's Mum gonna do when she finds out we're missing? Connor pointed out. She'll think we were kidnapped, and she has enough to worry about already. Alex knew he was right, but her desire to see the fairy tale was so strong that she was able to ignore him. All I need is a day or two, Alex said. That'll give us plenty of time. How are you so sure these words run on the same time schedule? Connor panicked. Think about it. The stories of Cinderella and Red Riding Hood have been around for hundreds of years in our world, but it's only like a decade or less has gone by here since. A couple years here, and Mum may be in her 80s when we get home. Connor rubbed his hand. It hurt. Connor rubbed his cough should really be going down. Connor rubbed his hand. Connor rubbed his head, sorry. It hurt from thinking so hard. Alex was listening more than she wanted to. He was practically repeating word for word what the logic voices in her head were saying. What if something happens while we're gone? Connor asked. What if we get back and apes or aliens have taken up over our planet? If I miss that, I will never forgive you. Alex stopped walking and looked up from the map. A very odd expression appeared on her face. Didn't think of that, did you? Connor asked her. But Alex wasn't listening to him. Something else entirely had caught her attention. Do you smell that? Alex said. What? Connor said. All I can smell are trees and dirt. Alex took a couple of steps further. No, it's something else. It's sweet. Like something baking. Connor sniffed. Sure enough, a scrumptious smell was drifting through the air. It smells like gingerbread, Alex said. She looked at her brother with large, excited eyes. Oh no, Connor said. Before he could stop her, Alex took off, running into the trees, away from the path towards the direction of the aroma was coming from. Alex, wait! Connor ordered. Come back! You don't know where you're going! Alex bolted through the trees, climbing over boulders and bushes as she passed them. The scent became stronger and stronger the faster she stayed from the The farther? The further she stayed from the path, Connor was right behind her, arguing her to turn around. Finally, Alex came to a halt, and Connor bumped into her. She had found exactly what she was hoping to see. A small gingerbread house sat in between two large trees. White frosting covering its pointed roof. Gumdrops were climbing around like shrubbery, and candy canes were climbed around. Were clumped around like. Hang on, whoa. Reread all that. A small gingerbread house sat in between two large trees. White frosting covered its pointed roof. Gumdrops were clumped around around like shrubbery, and candy canes lined the path to the front door like a picnic, a picnic, a picnic, a picnic fence, a picked fence. Sorry. Look, Connor, Alex said, catching her breath. It's a gingerbread house, a real gingerbread house. Look how cute it is. Cough, just there. Whoa, Connor said. I feel like I might get diabetes from just looking at this place. Let's go inside, Alex said, and stepped towards the house. Connor grabbed her arm. Have you lost your mind? Do the words Hansel and Gretel, cannibalism, innocent mean anything to you? I just want to peek inside for a second. Only 1 second. The door of the gingerbread house slowly opened. Alex and Connor froze. A large hooded figure squeezed out of the door and then raised its head to stare at the twins. It was undoubtedly a witch, and although they had never seen a real witch to make a comparison to, she was more grotesque than they could have imagined.
Wait, where's my shorts?
Your shorts, I think, went into the washing machine.
So I got nothing to wear.
Oh. Got another pair of jeans.
Yeah, but I just want to get comfy clothes.
There's some pajamas if you want pajamas.
Right.
By my pink pride top on the left. Sorry, guys. There. The white one. White one. Yeah. Why do you drop things on the floor? Excuse me. Good sir. Do I do this to you? No.
Yes.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Don't even know where this perfume goes. There. Oh well, it's all around. It'll do. Ow. Hit my head with headphones. That's
You know, since I gave him that,
1 sec. Sorry about that. Where do we get to? Never seen a real witch. Yeah, never seen a real witch to make a comparison to. She was more grotesque than they could have imagined. Her skin was wrinkled and paled with a yellowish tint. Her eyes were bloodshot and bulged out of her head. She was hunched over and had an ominous hump on her head. "Hello, children," the witch said. Her voice was high-pitched and crackly. "Would you care to join me for a bite of tea?"
Got no charger.
You don't have a charger? That's a load of bullshit, because 2 chargers are in the front room, because one... Yeah, one's by PlayStation.
No, it's not.
Yes, there is. One moment.
Online here.
We are back. It was impossible for the twins to hide their fear. They both stood still, staring at her, as if she were a rabbit. A rabid Tyrannosaurus Rex, about to pounce on them at any moment. No, thank you," Alex said. "We're just passing by. You have a lovely home." They slowly backed up, 1 foot at a time. Wouldn't you like to see inside? The inside? The witch asked. I'm not going to do that. The inside of whom? Connor asked. Connor said, and Alex elbowed him. "Don't be silly, kiddies. Come inside," said the witch, losing her patience. She extended an inviting, shaking hand towards him. They noticed it was covered in burn marks, perhaps from the last time she had visitors. "I thought the witch died at the end of Hansel and Gretel," Alex whispered to Connor. Sorry. "I thought the witch died at the end of Hansel and Gretel," Alex whispered to Connor. "Maybe she got hold of a fire extinguisher after they left," Connor whispered back. Brilliant line. You know what? Hang on. Just gonna quote something in just gonna quote that. There you go. They continued backing slowly away from her. Cough. Yeah. "Thank you so much for the invitation, but we really need to get going," Alex said. We're on a really tight schedule, Connor added. We're meeting a couple dwarfs for coffee in a half hour? In half an hour. Jesus, English. So we better get moving on. They quickly took off in the direction they'd come, but came to a jarring stop when the witch suddenly appeared in front of them with a pop. With a pop. They tried running back the other way, but the witch had appeared in front of them again with a snap. They were trapped. You aren't going anywhere. You aren't going anywhere, the witch said. She seemed to grow taller and her eyes bulged bigger as her patience ran out. You know what, I'm going to just read on this. Now be nice, little chickies, and follow me inside. Now be nice, little chickies, and follow me inside. That really does not work. Alex, this is like one of those bad videos about strangers from the first grade, Connor was. Alex, this is like one of those bad videos from strangers from the first grade, you know what I mean? Because the fucking whisper bit's after. Connor whispered to her. Do you still have your kidnapping whistle? Brilliant. You don't want to eat us. Oh no, you don't want to eat us, Alex told the witch. We've been walking for a while, so we're really dehydrated. We appreciate just skin and bone. The witch was definitely growling. Her hump shrank as her body rose higher. Your friends seem to be rather plump, the witch said. Looking at Connor like a praying mantis about to strike. He had more than enough to spare. She was practically salivating. I beg your pardon, Connor was offended. He forgot how terrified she was. I'll have you known, I'm on the edge of another growth spurt, and I always get a little pudge before one. Connor, please don't. Alex tried, but was too late. Why do you want your victims Why do you want your victims chubby anyway? Wouldn't it be healthier if they were muscular and fit? Connor said. The witch looked to one side and raised an eyebrow. She had never considered this. Her considerations must have distracted her from attacking the twins, because she began to shrink back to her normal humped shape. If you ask me, Connor continued, you should turn your gingerbread house into a gingerbread gym and healthy club. Alice often couldn't believe the crazy things that her brother said, but this one took the cake. What a delicious idea, the witch cackled. I'll rebuild as soon as I am finished with you. The witch began to grow again. This time, her mouth opened wide and a set of jarred teeth grew out of it. She was going in for the attack. Alex screamed, "Wait!" With her hand covering her face, she said, You owe him? The witch The witch recoiled into a smaller form. I owe him? She asked. Yes. Isn't that how it works? Alex said. He presented you with an idea, and now you owe him a wish? A wish? The witch asked. A wish? Connor asked. Alex nodded convincingly. The witch grunted. Yes, the happy ever after assembly just interacted a new law, Alex said. Thinking on the tips of her toes, any witch present with a good idea must return the favor by granting a wish. Yeah, said Connor. Going along with it. Sorry. Yeah, said Connor. Going along with it. Hang on. Water. Excuse me. Don't make Mother Goose fly down here. She'll let her goose loose on you. And some of them lay golden eggs. And that can't feel good. Hello. Thank you very much for the luck. How's it going? Who knows how aggressive they'll be. Fine, the witch said. I shall grant you one wish, but only because I don't want to deal with those fluttery freaks again. Connor leaned close to her sister. What should I wish for? Should I wish to go home? He whispered. No. She tried to trick us with whatever she wished for. It has to be really specific, Alex said. Hurry, child! I'm hungry, the witch demanded. Okay, said Connor. Thinking as fast as he could, it had to be a good one. It had to help them get out of the situation. I wished you would become a vegetarian, he said to the witch. Alex turned her head sharply towards her brother. That's what you picked? Very well, the witch struggled. The twins weren't sure if she knew what a vegetarian was. She reached her hand towards the sky and clapped, making a sound as large as thunder. The twins ducked, but the wish appeared to have done the trick. The witch hump faded away. The yellowish tint on her skin disappeared, and her bloodshot eyes calmed. I've lost my appetite, the witch said. She shrugged her shoulders, turned away from Alex and Connor, and walked into the gingerbread house, slamming the door behind her. Alex and Connor took a deep breath. Their bodies had never been so tense. That was a close one, Alex said. You're welcome, Connor said. Excuse me. How did you think of wishing for her to become a vegetarian? Alex asked. Connor scratched his head. It was the only sure way I knew she wouldn't eat us. Alex smiled at him. She wasn't given too many moments to be proud of her brother. So when the chance came, she soaked it up for all it was worth. Nice job, but let's get out of here in case your wish veers off. The twins hurried back through the forest until they returned to the path. They continued heading south, this time keeping to a faster pace. They had they had had their first dangerous encounter. As I should just say, they just had their first dangerous encounter in the fairy tale world, and they weren't in any hurry for the next. Alex and Connor had been hurrying along the path for a while when Connor said, "Alex, I've got to sit down. I feel like my legs are going to fall off." "Connor, we have to keep moving. It's already the after. God, the English. It's already the afternoon, and Froggy said we need to cross into the Corner Kingdom by nightfall." Alex warned. "Easy for him to say. He has the frog legs," Connor said, through heavy breathing. "Just for a couple of minutes. And then we'll keep going. I promise." "Alright, but let's find someplace safer," Alex said. They continued walking a little further and found a pleasant opening between some trees. Connor found a fallen tree to sit on and catch his breath. Alex looked around at the trees on the forest, noticing that they were all different shapes and sizes and shades of green. She was still bewildered by everything that had happened. "It's amazing, isn't it?" "It's amazing, isn't it?" Alex said. All of this has been at our fingertips the whole time, and we never knew." She took a seat next to her brother, grinning from ear to ear. "What do you think Dad and Grandma would make of this place? Would make of all this?" Alex asked him. "What do you think they would say if they knew all of this was actually, real?" From the way they always talked about fairy tales, you'd think they did, Connor said, and couldn't help but smile at the thought. "I've got 1,000 reasons why I wish Dad was still alive," Alex said. "But now I wished it more than ever, just so we could bring him back and show all of this to him and Grandma." "We have to get back first," Connor reminded her. "And while we're on the subject, I think we should take a look at the journal. The sooner we read it, the sooner we get back home." "I know," she told him, "but we should at least see a castle or palace first. Dad and Grandma would have wanted us to." Connor grunted. "Ugh. Alex, we just barely escaped being lunch for a witch. We can't waste any more time." The sound of a few twigs snapping came from across the clearing. As something approached, Alex and Connor ducked down and behind the fallen tree. Hidden from view. A cream-coloured house slowly travelled into the clearing. It picked up its hooves in a particular manner, as if it was being trained to tiptoe. A woman was riding the horse, and she looked curiously around the clearing as she entered it. She was young and beautiful. Her eyes were big and blue, and her hair was half up and flowed into long golden curls. She wore a long maroon knitted coat with black leggings and very tall boots. The woman and her horse moved Hello? I hear the cat meowing. Nothing. It's just been a cat. The woman and her horse moved covertly into the center of the clearing. Easy, Porridge, said the woman, stroking the horse. That's a good girl. Nice and slow. She hopped down from the horse and made her way to a tree. Alex could see that some sort of paper was pinned to it, and after taking a closer look, saw it was the wanted poster for Goldilocks that she had seen the day before. The woman shook her head after reading it. She ripped it off the tree and crumpled it up. Who is that? Who is that? What is she doing? Connor whispered to her sister. Do I look psychotic to you? Alex whispered back to him. Suddenly the woman's head jerked in their direction. Whoever she was, she had a remarkable sense of hearing. She drew a large sword from inside her coat and raised it high in the air. Her gaze was stern and determined. She was obviously someone to be recognized with. She stepped closer to where Alex and Connor were hiding. A piercing wolf howled. Ow! Boomed through the forest. It was so loud that Alex and Connor covered their ears. The woman spun around and pointed her sword in the opposite direction of the twins. Porridge, get ready. We're about to have company, she said. Who? Alex and Connor mounted. Who? Alex and Connor muttered to each other, creeping through the trees together. Them were half a dozen. 1 second. Really want to reword some of this. Creeping through the trees towards them, there were half a dozen wolves. However, those wolves were unlike any the twins had ever seen before. They were 4 times the size of any normal wolf of their world. Their fur was jet black and matted. Their eyes were red, and their snorts were wide. Those wolves were ready to kill at any minute. Without a doubt, the twins had to come face to face with the big, bad wolf pack. Alex and Connor held on to each other, shaking with fear. The woman in the maroon coat never showed a hint of panic. She pointed her sword at the largest of the wolves, standing in the middle of the pack. The wolves growled and gritted their teeth towards her. Hello, Moloclaw, the woman said. Hello, Goldilocks, Moloclaw growled. The twins were both in silent hysterics. Goldilocks, that's Goldilocks, Alex muttered to Connor. The wolf talks. It talks, he muttered back to her. I'm surprised you're not chained down in some Red Riding Hood Kingdom jail cell yet, Moloclaw said to Goldilocks. I'm surprised you haven't been turned into a rug for the children's nursery yet, Goldilocks said. What brings you to the part of this forest? There isn't an innocent village for your pack to torment for miles. Goldilocks never lowered her sword. The other wolves in Mol's pack slowly surrounded her and Porridge. My pack is hungry. We stopped for an afternoon snack, the wolf said. Have you really come to eat me? Goldilocks said. I thought you'd have learned your lesson by now. I bite back. She gripped her sword even tighter. Mal laughed. The wolf can laugh. It can laugh, Connor Mal. Fucking hell. The wolf can laugh. It can laugh, Connor muttered to Alex. I don't even know how I'm going to mutter that. You are far too small a proportion, Mal told her with an evil wolfish grin. Your horse, however, has plenty to go around. Alice and Connor had never seen a horse look as frightened as Porridge did. Had she not been so light-coloured, they would have sworn she had gone pale. If you so much scratch her, I will wear you as a coat. Do you understand me? Goldilocks warned him. All people do in this world. All the people do in this world is eat one another, Connor whispered to Alex. And as soon as he did, he knew he shouldn't have. A wolf turned in the twins' direction. Oh no. Mal, I think I just heard something. It growled. Alex covered his mouth. Alex covered her mouth so as not to scream. The wolf pack began sniffing vigorously in the air. I smelled 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl. Goldilocks seemed as surprised as the rest of the wolves to learn this. So that was who she had heard behind her moments before. The twins could hear their heartbeats. What was going to happen next? Was Goldilocks going to rat them out to save her horse? Had they just narrowly escaped being devoured by a witch only to be eaten by a pack of overgrown wolves? I'm afraid you just missed them, Goldilocks said. I frightened them away, just like I frightened you the last time our path crossed. Then horse it is, Mal declared. All the wolves howled together. It was deafening. They began circling Goldilocks and Porridge, getting closer and closer. The wolves snapped at them with their enormous jaw, and Goldilocks swung her sword at them. One of the wolves tried to pounce on Porridge, but the horse kicked him away with her hind legs. Another wolf tried to bite Goldilocks, but she struck him with her sword, drawing blood, and he wimped away. I don't even know where I'm going with that. Goldilocks was the best swordswoman the twins had ever seen. Anytime one of the wolves got so much as a claw close to her or her horse, she was quick to shield them. Porridge wasn't so bad herself. She wasn't shy about kicking away any wolves that were too close to her comfort. A wolf leaped and snapped his claws into Porridge's back. The horse buckled to free herself. In one quick slice, Goldilocks chopped one of the wolf's paws off. He limped into the forest, howling in pain. Two wolves teamed up on Goldilocks. One leaped towards her, and she tripped over the other one. Her swords flew into the air and landed close to where the twins were hiding. Goldilocks was on the ground, unarmed. The wolves were closing in on her, and the horse going in for the kill. Catch! Connor yelled, and tossed the sword straight to her. Goldilocks swung it hard at the wolves, closing in on her. Leaving large gashes in their muzzles. Retreat! Mal ordered his pack. No snack is worth all this trouble. The wolves stamped into the forest, growling and howling in anger. Letting the rest of the forest know they were on their way. Until we meet again, Goldilocks, Mal called out. As he disappeared into the trees with the rest of the wolves, Goldilocks got to her feet and put her sword away. She was out of breath, and now that the enemy had left, much more vulnerable than she had shown in combat, she petted Porridge's nose, and dabbed the horse's wound with the fabric of her coat. Good girl, Porridge, Goldilocks said. She turned and faced the fallen tree Alex and Connor were hiding behind. You can come out now, Goldilocks said. The twins were hesitant at first. Then Connor popped up and exclaimed, That was awesome! Connor, Alex said, popping up behind him. That was one heck of a fight, Connor continued. You know, at first, I really thought they had you. I never expected a girl and a horse could be any match for 6 hungry wolves. But you impressed me. Where did you learn to fight like that? Goldilocks was not assumed by his enthusiasm. When you've been on the run as long as I have, you pick up a few tricks here and there. She turned around and remounted her horse with a jump. Excuse me. So, is it really you? Alex said. Are you really Goldilocks? The woman wanted dead or alive for all her crimes? Don't believe everything you read, she said sternly, and then pulled on Porridge's reins and galloped away. But she only travelled a few feet before she steered Porridge back to the twins. Thank you for your assistance, Goldilocks said. Connor nodded. Here, take this in case you need it. Goldilocks reached into the side of her boot and pulled out a silver dagger. She tossed it to the ground. Now, get as far away from here as possible. Those wolves will be back sooner than you expect. And with that said, Goldilocks and Porridge galloped off into the forest. Alex and Connor stood motionless, watching her ride off out on the straight. That was amazing, Connor said. Oh, excuse me, guys. I really shouldn't be laughing. Shouldn't be sleeping. Sleeping? Not even sleeping. Yawning. That's the one. Bloomin' heck. Alex and Connor stood motionless, watching her ride off and out of sight. That was amazing, Connor said. He retrieved the dagger from the ground and put it inside the sachet. As terrifying as that was, it was kind of nice to see another human for a change. We'd better get out of here, Alex said. And this time we weren't stopping until we knew we're out of the dwarf forest. Connor couldn't agree more. The twins continued down the dirt path, running this time. Yeah, I thought so. They had expected more danger today. They've experienced more danger today than they had ever experienced in their entire lives. Unfortunately, for them, it wouldn't be the last encounter with Goldilocks, the big bagged wolf packs, or the dwarf forest. And it leads us on to chapter 7. I wonder what's going to happen in this chapter. Well, we've got one chapter down. And I feel like we should do another chapter, but for a moment, we're going to go on a little break. So anybody who wants to come in and go around can go get a drink, can get hydrated, don't be dehydrated, keeping up the good times. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I think my good friend is also going to be streaming, so I will be raiding them. Thank you very much for coming along working. So yeah, we will be right back in a little moment. See you guys soon. Hope you guys are enjoying this so much. Bye. I'll see you back in a moment. Give it like, I don't know, 5 minutes. Back at 20 past. bleach myself for this, right? Just thought I'd do a little just chat for a second while we're doing the book reading. As you may or may not know, we have got the Heartstopper books. I have got them, and I am going to maybe do a little one-off stream where I go through the whole of the Heartstopper book, or you guys can stay on the server, what you would prefer, as doing a one-off for the charity. We could do the Heartstopper book. Now, let me just quickly grab it. It is very long, as you can imagine. There is a little bit at the back, which is, it's really cute. There's like diary, there's all sorts in here. There's what everybody is, the cards, you got the puppy. You got all sorts. If you didn't, there's a puppy. There's always a puppy in every good film. There's obviously there's more to come. So there's 263 pages, a lot less than this book that we go. Well, no, about the same to be honest. It's A4. It's all artwork, and well, yeah. As I said, it's crazy. There's tons to it, and weirdly enough, I think Heartstopper 1 hang on. I think Heartstopper, the actual film, right, is the whole books, every single book put into one film. Because where I'm just looking at the back of this bit, I've watched the film. I know where that is, and that's about halfway into the actual film. Just weird. But yeah. We might do a one-off with that one, or it'll be, I think it's the first one first. The second one is the whole film. I wish they did it in seasons, to be honest. The series. The whole thing we're doing in series. But yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll ask you guys. Either we'll do it on Discord, we'll ask you, or we'll do it on our Minecraft stream coming up soon. We've got an extra charity event to do, and we've got to do another book read, or Five Nights at Freddy's. As it is quite peaceful tonight, and there hasn't been a lot like sound alerts and a lot of things like that, I am going to attempt to read out a few pages. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pages. Ish. A4. To you guys. And hopefully we can do also... I'm going to just put it on the title as well. Chapter 6 and 7. Because why not? Why not for you guys? Why not? So we're going to get straight back into it. I'm going to get a quick glass of water. A quick guzzle. Right down my neck. Bloody hell, I finished one bottle already. I only bought this from like the shop not that long ago. That's one bottle down. And one to go. But they're big enough bottles to put water in for fridge. For the fridge. My gosh. My English is as good as this book now. I will say one thing about this book. I do wish someone could rewrite it proper English. A little bit of better English. I think this is an American author. So if you're American, it makes more sense on your English, how it is, because English is different from America and UK. But for the UK sense, I'm struggling sometimes reading it. But I'm not so sure. It is it's a bit of a struggle. 16 pages. That shouldn't be too bad. Right, excuse me. Repiesel's Tower. The twins had left, running from almost... Oh, hang on. I can feel a burp coming now. Excuse me. Oh my goodness grief. Hello? Excuse me. Does that sound little, or was that just the music? My gosh, that scared the hell out of me. Sorry. Right. In the middle of burping. Yeah, that's brilliant. Right. The twins had been running for almost an hour straight, and they were starting to feel it. Their adrenaline was slowly running out, and the pains in their side were increasing with every step they took. But since something dangerous seemed to happen every time they stopped moving, they were motivated to keep going. After all, this running PE testing should be a breeze, Connor said, through the heavy weasels. We're almost there, Alex said unconvincingly. Just a little further. The forest was changed as they ran through it. The trees were so thick, and there was more space and grass between them. More sunlight fell through the branches, so nothing was in the dark. The path became wider too. And much more visible. The twins didn't feel as threatened by their surroundings. The forest almost grew friendlier the closer they travelled to the corner kingdom. Oh my gosh, that's grief. Corner kingdom. Hang on. The twins didn't feel as threatened by the surroundings. The forest almost grew friendlier the closer they travelled to the corner kingdom. Connor collapsed to the ground. He was breathing hard, harder than a fish out of water. I can't run anymore. I can't take it another step, he said with his limbs spreading out, as if they were making a snow angel in the dirt. We can't stop moving until we get to the corner kingdom, Alex reminded him through her own heavy breathing. I think we're there, Connor said. How do you know? Alex said. That's how, Connor said and pointed upwards. In the distance, a tall tower was visible above the treetops. It was circular and made out of square stone. There was a single window near the top, just below the pointed roof, made of hay. It was partially covered by a partially covered in thick vines of ivy. Alex grasped and clutched her hands together. It's Rampant's tower, Alex said. Her eyes became a little misty with the sight of it. Are you seriously crying? Connor said, who was still on the ground. Feeling for something, 1 second. That sounds more ominous than it needs to be. Let's just take that out there. I just thought it just in a random instant, you know, be useful right now. That. Oh, that's still in there. I thought it was in the PC. I don't know if this is going to make a noise. Wrong way. Wrong way. Oh, it was the right way. Brilliant, I did. Are you seriously crying about... It's just how I imagined it, Alex said. Get up. We're getting closer. Look. Excuse me. Alex yanked on her brother's arm until he climbed to his feet, and the twins walked through the trees until they came to the base of a tower. It was even taller than it looked, a few 100 feet tall. At least the twins' neck began to ache after looking up at the tower for a while. A large golden palanquin was displayed in the ground in front of it said, Queen Rabuzel's Tower. It must have been so hard for her, Alex said. She's seeing people and places so far away and never being able to visit them. At least she never had to worry about burglars, Connor said. I've got to go up there, Alex said. Do you have a jetpack or a grappling hook that I'm unaware of? Connor asked her. No, I'll climb to it, Alex said, surprising herself with the declaration. You have officially lost your mind, Connor said. We're almost being killed twice, and we haven't been here a full day yet. We need to stop fooling around and find a way home, Alex. What part of that don't you understand? Look, Alex said. I'm going to climb up there for just a few minutes. And then as soon as I climb back down, we'll read the journal and find out what all the wish and spell items are, okay? Alex, Connor began. His face was turning pink. Please, Connor, Alex said. I need to do this or I'll regret it forever. Connor shook his head with the frustration that only a sibling could cause. He wanted to lecture her about how childish she was acting, but the way she was looking at him with her big, wanting eyes, preventing him. It was so rare that Alex never needed something. He supposed one last stop couldn't hurt. Don't kill yourself, Connor said. But while you're up there, I'm going to start reading the journal and make a list of the wishing spell items we need to find. After all, you haven't been reading it, Alex. Alex happily nodded and put her bag on the ground. She stretched from the climb she was about to make. Connor sat on the ground and began flipping through the pages of the journal. Climbing the tower was easier than done. After searching the ground, the base of the tower for a place to put her first step. Alice could tell why a long train of gold hair might be needed to get to the top of it. Eventually, she found a stone block with a chip large enough to put her foot in and take her first step. Here I go, Alex said. Gosh, I wished I had a camera. Trust me, Connor said. The real Alex, I know, isn't going to want proof of this. It was like climbing the world's most difficult rock climbing wall. She relied on cracks and chips and uneven bricks, skidding out just enough to put her hand and feet on. She moved slowly but carefully. If she wasn't any larger, she wouldn't have worked. You're still at the bottom, Connor said. You're still at the bottom, Connor said. Looking up from the journal after a few minutes. Shut up, Connor. Shut up, Connor, Alex yelled back at him. I'm just saying. At the rate you're going, Mum's gonna be 80 by the time we get home. Whether there's a time difference or not, he said. After some time had gone by, and she had gotten the hang of it, Alex moved more quickly and carefully, pulling herself up using the ivy. The higher she climbed, the less she looked down at the ground, fearing it would temper with her effort to reach the top. She was determined to see the top of the tower, to be in the room where Rapunzel had lived, and to see what Rapunzel had seen through her window every day. She wanted to be where somebody else had been during the loneliest times of their life. You know. Rapunzel's story had been easy for Alex to identify with. Alex felt like she was in a tower of her own, looking at the world from an unreachable location. She was almost halfway up the tower by now, and she was above all the trees in the forest. Any tiny misstep would no longer result in potential injury, it would mean death. There's a reason the witch put Rapunzel up there, you know, Connor called out. So no one could reach her. I'm not listening to you, Alex said, and then stupidly looked down. Beads of sweat appeared on Alex's forehead. She felt like her heart had fallen out of her body. What was she doing? There was no way she could climb back down. Was she really risking her life just to see the inside of the tower? If she ever reached the top, would she be able to get back down? Would she have to wait until her hair grew long enough to climb before she saw anyone again? What would Connor do if she got stuck up there? Would he try to find the fairy tale world equivalent of a fire department with a ladder long enough to get her down? Or would he find the wish and spell item on his own and go home without me? The more Alex worried, the more she climbed. She knew it wouldn't be productive to worry and stay still. So she just kept going. It felt like hours had gone by. She looked up. She was only a few feet away from the window. Just a few more feet, and she'd be there. Finally, she felt the windowsill with her hand, and slowly pulled herself up on it. Then through it, she was almost through the window. Alex swung her legs over the window and into the tower. Thank God, she said to herself. She must have been stuck in the tower, but at least she's safe. Alex looked around the tower. It wasn't at all what she had expected. It was a large, circular room with no furniture or decorations of any kind. In fact, it was completely empty except for some hay and bird droppings littered around the floor. Hi, Alex, said a voice inside the tower. Alex jumped and screamed. She was completely shocked to see Connor sitting against the tower wall, just a few feet away from her. It took you long enough to get up here, he said, with a laugh. He was eating an apple, and he had the journal open in his lap. How in the world did you get up here? Alex demanded. She was still out of breath from her climbing. I took the stairs, Connor said, with a mocking grin. I was reading the journal. It says that after Rapunzel became queen, she installed a staircase in her own tower, so she could come back and visit whenever she wanted. The door to the staircase was on the other side of the tower. We just didn't see it. Oh, Alex sheepish. Alex said sheepishly. That would make sense. Apparently, since refusal was the only known ward of the witch. When the witch died, Reprisal inherited all the land from her. That's how she became a queen. Connor informed her. But you would have to know that if you had read the journal. It's full of fun facts and helpful hints on how to get inside difficult places. I suppose, Alex said. The straight no. I suppose, Alex said. Alex said, and straightened her head band. She was going to let this ruin the lovely long word accomplishment she had felt after climbing the tower. She turned to look out Reprisal's window. The tower was surrounded by sea of trees, like Sea of Thieves. Now games are available. For fuck's sake. Brilliant. Far off into the distance, Alex could barely see the rooftops of the tiny village. Beyond the village was a large mountain range that rolled across the horizon. Now this was exactly what Alex had expected. It's quite a view, isn't it? It's quite a view, isn't it? Connor asked. Yes, Alex said, almost in a whisper. It's breathtaking. I just wish we could see it all, everything, in the land of stories. But I did not thinking, blah. But I did a lot of thinking on my way up here, and I know we have to get home. That's what we need to focus on. About that, Connor said. You really need to read this, Alex. I've only skipped through a little bit of it. Most of it is hard to read because it's written by hand. But the situation is much more serious than we thought. He handed her the journal. Alex sat next to him and opened it to the very first page and began reading. Dear friends, I don't know how, why, or where you found this journal, but since it has found its way into your possession, I hope that it will be used to you. What am I about to tell you is going to sound ludicrous, but I ask you allow me to explain. Had I not seen it with my own eyes, I would have never believed it myself. I am but a simple man from a simple village in a charming kingdom, but I have been to another world. It's a world with people and technologies that our world has only dreamed of, and places we can only imagine. I know it seems a bust, but I promise you that I promise you. I know it seems a bust, but I promise you that an extraordinary place exists out there. We just can't see it. During my visits, among the many things I experienced, I fell in love. I fell in love. I fell into a love so deep it was unlike any other I've ever known. I never thought of a kind of love was real. It's as if I'm no longer living for myself anymore, but for her. So I must find a way back. I must find a way to see her again. The first time I travelled into the other world was simple. A fair...
You got your baited. You got your baited. You got your baited. 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 Yes, you just got your baited.
Oh, it didn't finish that time. That's the one you like. I don't want to pick that one. Hello. Please don't tempt me. I'm trying to guess which one's mine. It's not going so well. Hey! First I'm lucky. I need a different drink. So I'm gonna have to again. Other brands are available. Energy drink again. Other brands are available. There's an actual company called Energy and it's annoying. Anyway, carrying on. The first time I travelled into the other world was simple. A fairy tale knew of its existence. The first time I travelled into another world was simple. A fairy that knew of the existence allowed me to travel with her. She warned me not to get attached to anything or anyone. But while my brain was obsolete to her requests, my heart betrayed it. The fairy has hence banned me from travelling with her. So this time I must find a way into the other world on my own. Naturally, I don't know where to start. How does one go about travelling into another world? Who was I even to ask? How would I even be able to ask without appearing like a lunatic? A lunatic? A lunatic? A lunatic. That's the word. It's really weird to spell. Cinderella society is a very judgmental, and I surely would have been ridiculed if my missions were discovered. I come to a conclusion that I'd have to ask someone who was crazy in their own right, so no one would believe them if they spoke of what I had inquired. I needed someone I could trust, but who would never be trusted by the world. I figured such a person didn't exist, and I lost hope, until I remembered the travelling tradesman. He was infamous for finding naive children in the woods and trading their items for value for items he claimed to be magical. He was rumoured to have given Jack the bean that grew his beanstalk. Surely, if anyone have heard of another world, it would be him. He was he was on the move at all times. Since warrants for his arrest had been issued in all the kingdoms, he would be nearly impossible to find. But then again, my entire quest was violently impossible. Late one night, I travelled to a tavern up the steams from my home. There I befriended two farmers, and I proceeded to buy them a round after a round of drinks. And after we had a few laughs about childhood adventures and astonishment mistakes, I asked them if they have heard of the travelling tradesman. They both grew very quiet and were almost offended by the question. I assumed them It was purely out of curiosity, and I wasn't accusing them of anything. I purchased another round of drinks, and after they were consumed, the farmers confessed they had done business with him in the early years. I traded 2 goats for a watering can that was supposed to be magical water. Supposed to magically water all the crops by itself. One of the farmers said the damn thing never worked, and it had a leak. Ha! That's why, twat. It was the biggest mistake of my life. I traded 2 cows for a goose. He told me would lay a golden egg. The other claimed the goose was male. He gave me a gander. Oh dear. They tried convincing me to call off my search for him, but after one final round of drinks, they told me of the routes he covered. He covertly took throughout the woods. I must have searched every path of trees in the Charming Kingdom. Finally, in the woods just south of the Red Riding Hood Kingdom border, I found him. The traveling tradesman was an old, elderly, distinguished man. He wore 7 layers of ragged clothing, and he had a long grey beard. There were dark circles under his eyes, and one of his eyes wandered to the left, so it was difficult to tell what or whom he was looking at. He travelled with a large cart that was pulled by a single mule. He was making a deal with a small boy holding a chicken when I first saw him. Wear this bear claw and you'll grow up to be the strongest boy in the village, the tradesman told the boy, and then placed the necklace with a large bear claw around his neck and took the children from him. Then the boy smiled and ran off. The tradesman placed the chicken in the back of his cart. He must have made other trades that day, because he had already collected 2 gooses and a pig. Are you a friend or foe? The tradesman asked me. A friend, I believe, I said. Oh good, he said, with a jolly clap. Then, what may I do for you, my friend? Would you like a bag of magic pebbles that grow into boulders? It'll only cost you a duck. Or perhaps you'd like to trade a swine of a loaf of bread that'll make you never hungry again. No, thank you, I said curiously. I've never come to ask your... I've come to ask for your advice. Advice? The tradesman said. The elbows above the wandering eye rose. What, my friend, is something no one had ever asked me for. What do you wish to know? I'm wondering... I started, but I wasn't sure how to put it in words. What is the furthest distance you've travelled? The tradesman scratched his head and thought about it. Well, I'd honestly say that isn't the place in the world that I haven't been, he told me. I've travelled from the southwest to northeast, and from the southeast to the northwest. I've been to the bottom of the corner kingdom to the top of the sleeping kingdom, and from the tip of the elf empire to the coast of the fairy kingdom. What about further than that? I interrupted him, fearing he might continue this in every journey he's ever taken. Further than that? Both the tradesman's eyebrows were raised. Now, what's further than that? Only ocean is beyond there. And that's it. That's it. What about a different world? Have you ever heard of one? Or how to travel to one? I finally asked. The tradesman got funny looking in his eye. Or should I say, eye? I looked in his... looked his eyes. Oh, dear. Young man, I've been all over the world, and I've never seen any suggestion of there being another, he said. This topic upset him somehow, and he hopped aboard his cart and took the resin of his mule. Wait, please don't go, I pleaded. You youngsters always take pleasure in harassing an old man, but I won't allow it, he said. He began to travel the path. I was so desperate, I stood in front of his mule and was nearly trampled. I mean you no harm, old man, I assured him. You don't understand. I've been to another world, another place, and a time, and have seen extraordinary things. I need to get back. It may be the greatest wish I will ever have. My arms were spread out, and I fell to my knees. I felt like an imbecile, confessing a preposterous need to a preposterous man. The tradesman sat still, with good eyes fixed on me. Is it true, the most desired wish in your heart? He asked. Yes, I pleaded. I've never wanted anything more in my life. If it's a wish you desire, then there's only one thing you need to do, he said. What's that? I asked him. The wishing spell, the tradesman said. Hey, hence the name. At first, I thought he was joking. The wishing spell? I asked him. You mean the childish legend? It's as real as none on my face, the tradesman said. Many men have spent their lives trading to obtain it. Legend has it that if you collect a series of objects and place them in close proximity to the collectors, one true wish will be granted. I didn't know whether or not to believe him. Perhaps he was harassing me now. My brain was critical, but my heart chose to learn more. And how do I find these items? I asked. I don't have the slightest idea, he said. Now I was frustrated with him. All that explanation for nothing? I turned my back on him and began heading back home. But I know someone who does. The tradesman called after me. Who? I demanded. I never trade for free, the tradesman said, and extended an open palm towards me. I placed a few gold coins in his hands. He kept his hand extended, and I placed a few more coins into his hands until he was satisfied. Her name is Hagafa, the tradesman said. Where can I find her? Take the path west into the dwarf's forest, past the three boulders, and follow the smoke, the tradesman said. And that was all the directions he gave me. He took the resin of his mule, and travelled away from me. Had I been thinking clearly, I would have chased after him and asked for more instructions, but instead, I took off running towards the dwarf's forest. I had never been inside the dwarf's forest before. I've never been told of their dangers since I was a child. And once I was there, I knew why I'd been warned. The trees grew so thick and close to someone that someone could be standing 3 feet away from you, and you would never know where they were. You never know they were there. It took 2 days to find the 3 boulders the tradesman had spoke of. There were 3 large rocks that stuck straight out of the ground and were tilted in a peculiar position. I thought perhaps they might have been pointing at something, so I lowered my head to look in the direction they pointed. The boulders pointed directly between the 2 trees, separated just enough that you could see a wide patch of sky, and in the patch you could see smoke. I ran towards the source of smoke. Wherever it was coming from was completely off the path, and I almost seriously injured myself, jumping over bushes and trees, roots as well. As I went. Occasionally I could see the sky through the trees' branches, and could tell if I was off track. I must have travelled in circles for hours. Every time I thought I was just about to find the place from where the smoke came, the wind would shift into another direction. I was lost. Everywhere I turned and looked exactly the same. I felt as if the forest had swallowed me. The sun had setting, and the smoke became harder to see. I started to panic. There was no shelter in sight. I thought for sure a treacherous beast would find me during the night and make the feast out of me. I started running again. I could barely see where I was going at this point. I could hear howling in the distance. I tripped and fell straight through a large thorn bush. I landed hard in the grass. On the other side of the thorn bush, I was scratched and bleeding. I got to my feet and looked around. I was standing in a large circular clearing in the forest, surrounded by a large wall of thorn bushes. In the center of the clearing was a small hut with a hay roof and a brick chimney. And raising out of the chimney was the smoke I had been following. No wonder it had been so hard to find. I must have been wandering in circles around it, not knowing it was hidden behind the thorn bushes. I approached the hut slowly. It had 1 door and 2 windows, and that was all. I went to knock on the door, but it burst open before I had a chance. "Who are you?" said the woman who emerged from the hut. I knew from the second I saw her that it was Hanifa. She looked like a human tree stump. She was short and wore a brown hooded cloak. Deep human tree stump. She was short and what? Sorry, deep wrinkles circled her face, and one of her eyes was squinted. Her nose was one of the smallest I have ever seen, and was neighbored by a gigantic mole. "Are you Hanifa?" I asked her. "How did you find me?" she snapped. "I tripped through a thorn bush," I said. "But how did you know I was here?" she asked. Her squint eyes squinted more. "The traveling tradesman," I told her. "He said you knew of the wish and spell." Hanifa grunted and sighed at the same time. Ugh. Her lips wrinkled and looked me up and down. Reluctantly, she gestured me to follow her inside. Come in, Hanifa said. The inside of the hut was an utter mess. There were vials of strange liquids everywhere. Some bubbling, some glistening, some some steamed. There were dozens everywhere. Some bubbled, some glistened, blah blah blah. There were dozens of glass jars, containing the strangest things, dead and alive, replicas, insects of every species, even a glass jar of varying eyeballs, even though they had been plucked out of their own owners' eyelids. Sorry, their own lids. The owner's lids. Sorry. I swear, one of them blinked at me. I was surprised to see how many animals were inside the hut as well. Everything from geese and chicken to hummingbirds and the monkeys, all reside in cages. They were all restless prisoners. Blah, blah, blah. They were all restless prisoners, no doubt. Have a seat, Hannaford instructed. She pointed to the chair at the end of the table, so large that it almost took up the entire hut. I see you are the collector of thoughts, I said. She did welcome the conversation. She ignored me and collected a few items around the room. A bowl here, a vial there, the toothbrush surrounding your home is... Sorry, the toothbrush? The thorn bush surrounding your home was very, very clever, I said. It must keep out most unwanted visitors. Most, she said, and glared at me. That thorn bush is from the Sleeping Kingdom. I planted it here, and it grew around my house in a perfect circle, just as I grew around the castle while the queen was in her 100-year slumber. You're the first to break through it. I do apologize. This will cost you 15 gold coins, Hang said, and took a seat across from me. For what? I asked. You want to know the wish and spell items, don't you? She asked. That is why you're here, is it not? I reached into my pocket and laid all the coins I had left on the table. Unfortunately, doing business with the tradesman had left me short. I only have 14 coins, I told her. Hangford did not look pleased. You stupid young, and your wishes. Very well, she said, and scooped up all the coins with one swipe. She placed the bowl in front of her and emptied the contents of two veins into it, one red and the other blue. One eye of an eagle, the wing of a pixie, and a heart of a newt, Hannaford said, and added these items into the bowl, plus 3 drops of giant blood, the big toe of an oar, and a straw of gold hay that completes the potion. With all the ingredients added, the liquid in the bowl started to smoke and boil and glow. Hannaford leant over it and breathed in it. She closed her eyes and lost herself in the moment of deep thoughts. Does this potion tell you what the wish and spell items are? I asked her. No, but it helped me remember, Hannaford said. You weren't the first, and you won't be the last person to request the list. Consider yourself warned. Many people have lost their lives trying to accomplish these items. They are impossible to collect. I'd rather die than trying to live the rest of my life wondering if I could have done it, I said. Then listen carefully to what I'm about to say, because I'll only say it once, Hannaford said. I went close to her as possible. I possibly could. The anticipation made Every second felt like an hour. This is what I came here for. There are 8, Hango said. She took a deep breath and then listed the items. Glass that housed a lonely soul till midnight final troll. A samba from the deepest sea, meant for a groom's molarity. The bark of a basket held in flight while running from a bark with bite. A stone crown that's made to share, found deep within a savage lair. A needle that pierces the lonely skin of a princess, with the beauty found within. A wavy lock of golden rope that once was freedom's only hope. Glittering jewels whose values increased after preserving the false decreased. Teardrops of a maiden fairy, feeling neither magical nor merry. I repeated the list to myself the entire way home and wrote the wish and spell list, and my journey thus far into the journal. I don't know how I'm going to gather these items, but my goal is to find them and then record how I managed it in case I ever need to do it again. If you're reading this, I hope it means I succeeded, and if you're reading this and are about to start the journey of your own, I wish you luck. Wow, Alex said. Looking up from the journal. You can say that again, Connor said. You read much faster than I did. Did you read any further? Alex said. Did he find all the items? Did he make it back? I don't know. There are a lot of pages missing, Connor said. Alex scanned through the books. Scanned through the list of the wish and spell items. She had expected most of them to be hidden within riddles. Most of these are pretty easy to figure out, she said. Like a needle that priced the lonely skin of a princess with a beauty found within. That's obviously the spindle of Sweet Sleeping Beauty's spinning wheel. And a wavy lock of a golden rope that once was a freedom only hope, Connor said. That's totally a rock of repeatals. That's totally a lock of Repeatals' hair. Connor looked around in the space where they were sitting from. Between 2 floorboards, he pulled out a lock of long golden hair. Found one, Connor said. One of the first things I noticed when I got up here was how much repeatal girl shred. Now we're 1/8 for the way home. Alex carefully wrapped the lock of golden hair in a tissue from her school bag. What do you suppose? Glasses that hound the lonely soul up till midnight final troll means, she asked. Whose soul was covered in glass? I know, Connor said. Cinderella's glass slippers. That covers the sole of her foot. Of course, Alex said. This list was spoken. Maybe hung from meant soul, like on a foot. But the man heard it as soul, like a person's spirit. Connor, you're a genius. There's an alternative spelling, Connor asked. But Alex went on. I wonder what the bark of a basket held in fright while running from a bite means, said Alex. Thinking hard, basket, 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 bite, bite, bite. Little Red Riding Hood. A basket must have been made out of tree bark, and the bark with bite is talking about the big bad wolf. Okay, Connor said. That would make sense. Alex stood up and stared, pacing around the tower. Glittering. Oh. Okay. Alex stood up and started pacing around. Started pacing around the tower. Glittering gems whose values increased after preserving the false decreased. That's a tough one, she said. Who was falsely excuse me. Oh, excuse me again. Who was falsely deceased? Didn't people think Snow White was dead after she bit into the poisonous apple? Connor asked. Yes, that's right, said Alex, jumping up and down. She had a coffin made out of glass and jewelry from the dwarf's mines. That must be what it means. I'm so glad Dad and Grandma read to us so much growing up, Connor said. Whoever would have thought it would be this useful? Teardrops of a maiden fairy feeling neither magical or merry. Magical nor merry. Excuse me. I guess we'll just have to find a fairy who has recently broken up with her boyfriend or something. Alex shimmered. You don't think we could just kick her and make her cry? Connor asked. That just seems easier to me. Alex ignored him and variously flipped through the journal again. Glass slipper, check. Spindle, check. Coffin, check, Alex said. According to the note scribed in the margins, the author of the journey seems to agree with our guesses. I said, I still don't know what some of these things are, though. Like a saber from the deeper sea, meant for a groom's morality, or a stony crown that made to share, found deep within a savage layer. Like I said, there are a lot of pages missing, Connor said. Alex was disheartened by this. The items they knew of seemed virtually impossible to collect, let alone the item that they didn't know of. She walked over to the window and looked out at the view. The sun was just about to set, and one by one the fireplace in the village nearby were lit. It sent trails of smoke into the darkening sky. What if we get some of these riddles wrong? She asked. What if we're getting them wrong? The wrong thing? What if the author's guessing wrong? What if he never made it back? What if he died trying? Well, we'll just have to do our best, Connor said, joining Alex out the window. joining Alex at the window. Some annoying little girl told me once that optimism always pays off. And she usually was right about things. Alex smirked warmly at her brother. Brilliant reference from earlier. Okay then, she said. So far, we had a lock of Rapunzel's hair. We still need to collect Cinderella's slipper, Sleeping Beauty sandals, a jewelry from Snow White's coffin, bark from Red Riding Hood's basket, a tear from a fairy, plus 2 items that we have no idea about. Connor glumped at hearing this list. They both looked out over the horizon and at the sea of trees that surrounded the tower. Somewhere out there, all of these things were wanting to be found. It looked like we were going to see more of the land of stories than we thought, Connor said. And that is the end of chapter 7. We're going to join you guys back for chapter 8 another time. But thank you very much for coming along. There we go. That has been a little read through. Oh my good grief. I think I got a bit too tired for a little second half. Really have a bit of the chapter. I can't do English. I knew it. I knew since it was going to start. I knew, like, I was not going to be able to keep my English going. But, we tried. I'm going to be going over and giving a little raid to one of my friends that I've recently been with, speaking to. Thank you very much for everybody coming along. So if you do want to go and check out their channel, stay with me now, and you'll be going over there. Otherwise, in other news to the channel, there is some stuff coming to Discord. Please do check that out. Before I keep burping, have a lovely evening. Well, have a lovely night where I am. Evening, or whatever time of day it is for you. Or if you're watching this on the records back on YouTube that are slowly but surely making their way up and completely have the wrong description that's on them. But it's okay, we're fixing that soon. I'm going to be doing that in a moment anyway. Yeah, check that out, and I shall see you very much soon. Only thing we need to do is an extra charity event that we didn't do last Tuesday on the 3rd, and he said 2nd, dearie dear, which we'll be trying to do this week at some point. We'll either do it really late on today, or we'll do it tomorrow, or at some point this week. But thank you for now, for coming along. Spotters, have this amazing person. Just but yeah, we're going over in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.